Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
My name is Zach.
And my name is Kevin.
So great to have you back, Kevin. It's been a while, man. I think it's been months.
Jumping on over from the Fandom Podcast Network. We got to get you on to do some nerdy stuff sometime.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, there's big news that has dropped. I did a podcast yesterday. If you want to check it out, you can on our Patreon ad-free or on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. But before we get started talking about all these topics here, we do want to recognize all of our awesome top-tier Patreon supporters out there. Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Tautala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, and Darth Beard. Thank you so much for the awesome love and support out there. And also, we do have LegionSabers.com. They are working with us. If you use our code STUFF at checkout, you get 15% off. Plus, if you spend over $300 up until Black Friday, you get a free lightsaber. So check those guys out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually used the code the other day, and it worked. So I was very pleased. And I got the shipment in already. It was pretty quick shipping. I was pleasantly surprised there. But yeah, on to the topics of the day. So, like I said before, I did a podcast, a shortened version of the podcast in regards to the whole cancellation, it appears. It looks like it is official. I know everyone kind of waits for official word from Disney Lucasfilm, but The Hollywood Reporter ran it. Variety ran it. I found out this information, I think, late Sunday, and someone just kind of casually mentioned it, and I was like, there's no way that could be true. But apparently, Disney has removed the December 2026 Star Wars film release, which we were all assuming was going to be the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy film with Daisy Ridley attached. In what capacity? I think it was still kind of cloudy because at first I think they announced that she was going to be there for like maybe 15 minutes, and I think we all kind of assumed like an Obi-Wan Kenobi role, and then it became the Rey film, and I think everyone got kind of confused with that. And then, of course, Simon Kinberg was given a trilogy, and then another rumor came out that there's going to be a Rey trilogy, and that wasn't really official. But just all this kind of fallout now from another Star Wars movie being canceled or postponed. I mean, what other studio can you think of does this other than Lucasfilm under Disney? I mean, we're kind of in the pop culture space a lot, and we never see this with like Marvel or Pixar or any other branch of Disney studio, or even outside and Warner Brothers or MGM. I mean, this is a rare thing, and it happens a lot under Lucasfilm. So, Kevin, can you speak to any of this? I mean, does this strike you as like odd? Do you maybe know what's going on? We know that you're kind of close to the situation physically. So is there any insight that you can give us?
So it's funny because we here at the Fandom Podcast Network, Kyle and I talk about this all the time. And then we've got our friends that do the What a Piece of Junk Star Wars show on the network. And these always come up. And Kyle and I really dive into this stuff a lot. And you know, it doesn't surprise us as at all. I see a lot of fans talking about like, I'll believe it when I'm sitting in the theater and that type of thing. But the problem is, I think it's one of those things where there's just too many damn cooks in the kitchen, and there's too much micromanaging. And there's a few people like Tony Gilroy and Jon Favreau and other people that are kind of given the leeway to do what they want to do. And also, too, they're giving a lot of projects to people that don't know the damn property well. They want to try to start something new with someone and give them their own vision. No. My major complaint with the that started with Episode 8, Return of the Jedi, was that there is a formula that you do with Star Wars films and how you develop characters, how you develop the world. And that movie strayed 150% away from it. And I'm starting to kind of see that. I'm seeing people put agendas in their storylines. And, I've heard some people from behind the scenes too, that, in order to work with Lucasfilm, you really got to kind of, kiss some ass. Ryan Johnson. You also got to maybe lie on your thing and say that you're with some type of group or that they don't want people to be part of. So weird stuff like that. There's all this weird stuff going on about working underneath the Lucasfilm agendas, and I don't want to get too political about it, but it affects the writers area, and there's just too many people. Whatever think tank they've had over the last 7 or 8 years is not working, and they need to give it to people that know what they're doing, what they're talking about. And when it comes to the Rey thing, it doesn't surprise me. I don't know if it's the Shaboy, what's her name again?
Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm assuming her film is not going to happen. What they're doing is they're giving it to Simon Kinberg. Is that who it is? Right.
I'm not sure if they're giving it to it. It might just be totally canceled, because there was a report coming out that Lucasfilm holds Daisy Ridley as their most important theatrical asset. Which
it is.
Kind of
yeah. She, even for the people that aren't a fan of the sequel trilogy, like myself, she still is one that stands out. She's a great actress. She's a great character. Just that the stories themselves didn't help her. And the new trilogy, I think they want to just give her the trilogy and make her be the Obi-Wan New Jedi Order type of thing like that.
So yeah, one of our awesome Patreon members out there, Adam Haber on the YouTube, he says, have to imagine the Ice Age Stuff podcast is going crazy right now, though. So yeah, Ice Age 6 is the replacement movie that Disney is going to give us for that spot in December, which, I mean, it's wild and depressing simultaneously. But
yeah. I'm sorry, what is this? And what's the release date?
December 2026. That's the film that got removed, and Ice Age 6 replaced it.
Okay, so but we're still getting the Mandalorian and Grogu film in May of 2026, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because that one I think is done with production. They're just doing pre-production now, or post-production right now, if I remember correctly.
Right, and it was like an odd decision to have a movie in May and a movie in December when you had such a big span of time, 6 years in between movies. Then all of a sudden you want to do a May movie and a December movie.
The last time they did that was with Solo and Last Jedi.
And I mean, history is repeating itself, because there's going to be a big Marvel movie in May as well. Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to be kind of cannibalizing their own box office, it feels like.
Is 2026 an Avatar year?
I'm not sure.
That's a good question. Because
you want to look it up?
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Cool.
Because, that Avatar film, it's called Fire and Ash, correct?
I think so, yeah.
And I think there was some kind of moving around of the schedule with those films. I think it skipped a year or something.
December 19th, 2025.
Okay, so it's not. So
and then
every other
Avatar
year.
4, Avatar 4 was going to be 29, and then right now Avatar 5, 2031. As of now, but that I think the third film, Fire and Ash, is definitely slotted in for the December 2025.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's not going to go up, or it is going to go up. It's not going to go up against the one that was canceled. That was supposed to be that one, right? Or was it 2026 when you said?
Yeah, if it's 2025, the next Avatar, it was going to skip 2026 and go to 2027. But I think I don't know what's going on.
Avatar, so yeah.
Yeah, before they told us, I mean, of course, they've told us a lot of stuff and it hasn't come true, but it was going to skip a year because James Cameron has a lot of these Avatar movies in the can already. I guess maybe he's changing the story, or the post-production has changed. Maybe he's adding stuff. I don't know. I don't know what happened with Avatar, but they definitely don't want to step on Avatar, because that's a huge moneymaker for them.
Yeah.
But it's just very strange to me that you release a movie in May and then you do it in December when, I mean, I think Disney did a great thing changing from May to December, starting with The Force Awakens. They could have just planted the flag there and said, hey, look, this is when we're going to drop our Star Wars film. Look for it just about every Christmas. And you could have a Star Wars Christmas just about every time they release a Star Wars film. And then Marvel can have May. I mean, the old tradition was Star Wars was in May. And then I wasn't really opposed to moving Star Wars to Christmas, because it totally worked. It was a lot of fun. I like the Christmas time of year to get a huge movie like this.
I do miss Star Wars in May, though. I'll be honest with you, I really do.
It's so crowded though in May. I mean, for me, at Christmas time, Star Wars has like its own spot, and I kind of like that fact. It totally hijacks Christmas for me, but
that's the only way I remember Star Wars being released, because I wasn't old enough to go see the prequels when they were coming out, and I saw the re-release of the Phantom Menace. That might have been May or summertime in 2011 when that happened. But I just think of snow flying, going to see The Force Awakens, and then like going to see Rogue One. I convinced my buddy to skip a Christmas band concert, and we went and saw it around Christmas time. And I guess I kind of took that for granted, just thinking about Christmas and Star Wars being hand in hand. And Rogue One, or sorry, not Rogue One, Solo of the new Star Wars movies was the one to deviate from the Christmas release. But I definitely like those movies being released around Christmas time.
So yeah, there is an article today that I found on Collider that really kind of expresses a lot of my opinions, and I think a lot of our just thoughts on the situation that we kind of just talked about, but it kind of details a little bit about Simon Kinberg's situation. And I'm going to read it here so everyone can check that out. This is from Collider.com, and it's entitled, "What in the hell did Star Wars just do to itself?" And this is an opinion piece. So Lucasfilm can seemingly not go very wrong without announcing another Star Wars project is in development, even though 2019 Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker was the last instance in which the galaxy far, far away had a big screen installment. While all appears to be going well for Jon Favreau's 2026 film, The Mandalorian Grogu, Lucasfilm announced that Simon Kinberg is preparing to write and produce a new trilogy of films. Reports are mixed on whether this new set of films will be the next installment of the Skywalker saga or the beginning of an entirely new story. But the Star Wars franchise needs someone with a better grasp on storytelling than Kinberg to shepherd the next era of the franchise to theaters. To say that the last few years have been a mixed bag for the Star Wars franchise would be an understatement. While Andor and The Bad Batch proved to be creative highs that took the franchise in an exciting new direction, Ahsoka and the last season of The Mandalorian became too complicated for their own good, which I agree with, as they incessantly tied into an expanded universe that those outside of the hardcore fan base may have had a hard time comprehending. Star Wars needs a bold voice to prove that the franchise isn't just repeating the past. And Kinberg hasn't proven thus far that he has what it takes to make one of the saga's best installments. And they detail Simon Kinberg's relatively mixed track record here. The prospect of Kinberg producing a Star Wars project is less concerning than the fact that he is writing it. As a producer, Kinberg has helped to complete many successful films, as he has earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture for his role working on the science fiction film The Martian, which was great. I love that movie, directed by Ridley Scott. However, Kinberg's writing credits are filled with significant misses at trying to revitalize franchises, including 2015's Fantastic Four, which was just horrible, XXX State of the Union, I never watched it, and Dark Phoenix, which is the film I always think of when I hear Simon Kinberg's name. He directed that film, which he will direct the next trilogy for Star Wars, which is concerning. Many of Kinberg's original projects, such as the 355 and Jumper T sequels that never came to fruition. In general, Kinberg's screenplay credits tend to be very underwritten, riddled with plot holes, and lacking in character development. While these sorts of issues aren't a big deal, Kinberg is writing a silly action comedy like This Means War or Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It is more concerning when he's taking on a franchise as dense as Star Wars. Kinberg hasn't been able to sustain any of his successes, which is a reason to have hesitation considering that he's attached to mapping out the story for 3 separate Star Wars films. Although he is credited with helping to co-write X-Men Days of Future Past, which is largely credited as being one of the best superhero movies ever made, Kinberg followed it up with both X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. If any lesson should be learned from the Star Wars sequel trilogy, it is that the writers should have a clear ending in mind before they start hinting at future installments. The Star Wars franchise has too many ongoing storylines that are incomplete, which makes barreling ahead with an entirely new trilogy a strange creative decision, which is something I agree with. The Mandalorian has signified that it would be explaining aspects of the Imperial cloning facility in The Rise of Skywalker, and Ahsoka ended with a teaser about the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. played by Lars Mikkelsen. Kinberg has yet to make a project that has definitely stuck the landing by offering a definitive conclusion. In fact, he has produced potential franchise starters like the New Mutants and Chappie that were so disastrously received that they killed any interest in potential sequels. Some would cite Kinberg's involvement with the animated series Star Wars Rebels as a credit to the history with the franchise, as Dave Filoni's show has undeniably created many beloved characters such as Kanan Jarrus, played by Freddie Prinze Jr. Unfortunately, Star Wars has not had a lot of success in transitioning its animated storytellers to live action, as the reveal of several Rebels characters in Ahsoka, the series was quite underwhelming. There's concern that Filoni is so determined to tie back his live-action projects to Rebels and the Clone Wars that they have become impenetrable to more casual fans who aren't entirely caught up. There's little to suggest that a Star Wars trilogy penned by Kinberg wouldn't face the same issues of excessive fan service. The best Star Wars projects in recent years have been those that have challenged the status quo by trying to take innovative new takes on the established mythology and even molded them with other genres. Andor was hailed as a brilliant political drama that examined relevant issues regarding forced labor, right-wing radicalism, and the importance of resistance movements, with the fact that it was set in the Star Wars universe being a technicality. Similarly, Rian Johnson was able to examine the core tenets of the Force in Star Wars The Last Jedi, which explain the necessity of balance within the Star Wars universe. It is true that Kinberg has written some broadly entertaining films that could be classified as crowd pleasers, but he has yet to make anything that would inspire serious discussion. The Star Wars franchise should not be afraid of change, as the saga only continues to lose relevance when it only offers slight deviations from the past. While a show like The Acolyte did not inspire enough enthusiasm to generate a renewal, the series at least deserves credit for making wild stylistic deviations that made it feel unique. Lucasfilm has made it a habit of announcing too many projects from respected storytellers that never saw the light of day. Patty Jenkins, Taika Waititi, James Mangold, all supposedly working on upcoming films. Kinberg might be a safe choice who could theoretically bring a project to theaters at a relatively quick pace, but it may be better for Lucasfilm to ensure that the next Star Wars project is truly an event worth seeking out on the big screen. Star Wars is available to watch on Disney Plus in the US. So guys, what do you think about some of those statements in that article? I mean, it seems like this writer kind of has the same kind of headspace that I do, and the whole Kinberg thing. It's such a safe choice to hand someone a trilogy to.
Okay, that if you read between the lines, and you don't have to read between the lines too much to get that's kind of there's that article has a negative slant towards Simon Kinberg, and we need to give Simon Kinberg a little more credit here. Of all of the people that have been handed a possible draft or a movie or something that's not Jon Favreau, that's not Dave Filoni, Simon Kinberg is more than just a safe choice. This guy knows his stuff. And the fact that he was involved with Star Wars Rebels means that he gets the world. He understands it. But, I mean, I liked how the article kind of zeroed in on stuff that didn't do well. I'm sorry, but Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jumper, This Means War, this may not be films that Star Wars fans will latch on, but those were fun films. Deadpool and Wolverine, he was an executive producer for. You know, what else did he do here that he helped produce? He did, of course.
I think the question is, how much did he contribute to those great successes? So that's what I'm kind of wondering about.
But here's the thing, though. If he's an executive producer, I mean, obviously he has to have his hands on it. But the fact is, he knows how to handle big budget films, you know. And I think that also, what was it, The Martian? Great film. He had his hands on that one as well. What did he do for that one? He was the producer. Okay, so if anyone is qualified to handle a big project and tell people what to do and maybe not be pushed around, I think yes, he's a safe choice, but he's a qualified choice in my opinion. And I think that when you look at other people that were like, yeah, I can do a Acolyte series with agendas, and come on. You know, this is a guy that is respected in Hollywood. And whether he goes in and, yeah, he has some misses. That's obvious. Everyone does. Almost every actor, almost every director has a miss. But he's got experience in all kind of genres, which I like. I was just watching The Martian the other day. Damn good movie.
Yeah,
And he helped
totally rewatchable. I watch it every year.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But anyway, it's like when I heard this news, I'm like, oh wait a minute, I know that guy. And come on, Rebels was a good TV series, and that was really especially.
But I don't think he had much to do with that. I think that was Filoni's baby. You know what I'm saying?
It is Filoni's baby, but he had his handprints on it, and plus he knows the genre. He's someone that has experience with Star Wars, and that's what I want. I'm tired of these people that only have done documentaries and stuff like that. I give it to people that know what they're doing. Let them, if you're gonna helm a Star Wars series or write a Star Wars series, get your feet wet and be like get coffee for the person above you, and then learn about it. Be what David Filoni was to Lucas back early in the days, when he was just doing animation and stuff like that. I think yes, it's a safe choice, but I really do think if anyone is going to push back and say no, like Gilroy, everyone's listening to Gilroy because he knows his stuff, and he's not like a Star Wars fan either, but he knows the world and he knows writing, so we'll see. What do you think?
I'm really curious to see how Gilroy how he's tackling Andor. Is there somebody constantly saying, I mean, how did he develop Andor? I mean, we all know he's not a Star Wars fan, but
he's worked
who
in
was
Star
there
Wars
with him?
Andor, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like was there someone from the story group with him constantly when he was writing, or did he turn in drafts and people just from the story group or whoever were consulting for Star Wars were kind of like saying, we can add this here, we need to take that out, and maybe gave him the notes for it? Because I would really love to know that information. We might not ever know it, but
he wrote Rogue One, that got his hand in the, obviously, and then he's like, well, let's do Andor, the prequel to it,
Right, yeah. He was involved heavily in Rogue One.
He did the Bourne stuff, I mean.
Yeah. Tony Gilroy, yeah, he's awesome, and I'm kind of mourning him leaving Star Wars because after Andor season 2, I mean, are we gonna get him back for anything else?
And Tony Gilroy did one of my favorite films from '92, The Cutting Edge. The one where the hockey player has to work with the ice skater and becoming a couple. Oh, such a good one.
Yeah, is that DB Sweeney?
Yeah, buddy. Maura
Tierney. Yeah, I remember that.
That's Tony Gilroy, but he wrote it.
Wow, that's awesome. Wow. That's a
flashback
there.
Zach? What do you think?
Man, I mean, as much as I really want someone to be at the helm of a Star Wars project who knows their stuff, I think that's the most important thing. I just also hope that Disney can kind of piss or get off the pot, like just committing to something coming through. I know I guess we all kind of could have seen a Mandalorian movie coming from a mile away just because of the success of the TV show. And then lo and behold, they announced it, and they're playing the safe game, going through with the Mandalorian and Grogu. I mean, I'm going to go see it. I think if Star Wars was attached to a movie, all three of us would be in the theater regardless.
And isn't it odd to you guys that they waited so long for that movie?
Yeah. I'm shocked that wasn't sooner. I agree with you there, David. But Kevin, what do you think on that? With how they announced the Mandalorian and Grogu movie?
Well, I mean, I think they had all the pieces in place because it was pretty much like, are we going to do the Mando season 4 or are we going to do the movie? Well, we got all the pieces in place for the series. Let's get this movie out, and I'm sure that parts of the stuff in the movie was part of season 4, and I'm hoping we get a season 4 after the movie because we need to tie over stuff until we get the whole Mando-verse movie that's supposed to happen probably
for sure
2030, but
yeah, that's another thing too, is making sure that I don't know how many of these stories are changing for the Disney Plus shows that are feeding into that movie. I don't know if any of the backlash from Ahsoka or the Mandalorian season 3 affected that or delayed anything. I wasn't the biggest fan of The Mandalorian season 3, but I personally really liked Ahsoka. But I'm someone who poured a lot of time into the Clone Wars and Rebels, and
Right.
I was able to, track with everything that was going on in that show. And I understand that not every average viewer could have shared the same experience. But at the same time, I guess kind of getting back to the original question, thinking about who's going to be in charge of a new Star Wars project, or I guess Simon Kinberg, having him involved in a trilogy. I guess, Kevin, the analogy you brought up of serving the guy above you and getting him coffee and kind of learning what's going on. Maybe that's what he did on Rebels to Dave
Yeah.
Filoni.
Yeah, to a certain degree, yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I don't think
keep in mind, I think it was more than that because of his stuff, what he'd done in the past. I mean, he's not the guy.
He's been around
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. And Dave had the story experience coming into Ahsoka and was able to, I guess, test the waters with directing throughout The Mandalorian to kind of get more of a gauge on how to do some of the live action directing. And maybe there's more to it than that, but I think Simon Kinberg has experience, good experience directing films. And I think if he pulls together the knowledge he has for the Star Wars universe and his skills as a director, I think it's a recipe for success compared to especially previous candidates that we've seen come and go before they even got a chance.
Yeah, I think my position, I was where Kevin is at, I think, years and years ago, right before Apocalypse and the Dark Phoenix came out. Because once I knew that Simon Kinberg was attached to those, especially Dark Phoenix, he directed that, I was like, okay,
Fantastic
this is Star Wars guy.
Well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew about the behind the scenes kind of drama going on, so I kind of gave him a pass on that one. But, man, I'm such a big X-Men fan, and seeing those two films just being as bad as they were,
I knew
it kind of put a sour taste in my mouth with Kinberg.
After Apocalypse, I was out.
Yeah, I mean, you had Oscar Isaac playing Apocalypse. I mean, there was a really big missed opportunity, but I don't know. Personally, I probably wouldn't have casted Oscar Isaac for that role. But I mean, it was just worrisome when I heard that news, and yeah, the article has a bit of a negative slant, and probably aren't the biggest Kinberg fan, but still, it still kind of reeks to me of just being safe in a way when there's so many other creators out there. There's so many young creators out there that.
Well, who do you want? What young creators are you thinking of that could pull together a Star Wars movie and stay within that, as I say, that recipe, that Rian Johnson deviated from?
Well, I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to. I mean, it would be wonderful if we could stay within the recipe of Star Wars. That would be terrific.
Yeah.
But I don't think you really have to. I mean, as long as it's a good movie, as long as it's something that resonates, it makes us feel a certain way, like the original trilogy did, like the prequels did. I mean, and some of the TV shows, like The Mandalorian, for me, it hit home. It hit the bullseye straight on. Favreau and Filoni, it's incredible. Sometimes I'm shocked that even exists, especially seasons 1 and 2. They're incredible, man. But it's like, this is Star Wars, guys. This isn't like GoBots or some franchise that's like super obscure. I don't want to rag on GoBots or anything, but you get what I'm saying.
I love GoBots.
This isn't like Gundam, I mean, this is like popular. I mean, maybe not throughout the entire world the way we see it as Americans. I think we're all Americans here. But yeah, this is the franchise. They should be dominating right now. And it's like, why are they in such a weird kind of like funky period? It's very strange, and it's like all these major directors, going beyond the young creatives, all these major directors should like put their like hand in the Star Wars pot. And I mentioned on the last podcast that, I mean, this might sound ridiculous to some people, but and I prefaced it with, we're living in a time where we saw Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland on screen, Spider-Man together. And it's like, you think about that before that happened. It's like, how's that even going to work? I mean, that's like Sony, and then they're mixing it with the MCU, but they found a way. It seems to be that there's always a way to make stuff happen. And it kind of goes back to my whole canon argument that they can break canon, guys. I mean, they can have stuff outside of canon happening. They do the whole expanded universe and just tell people, hey, look, this isn't in the Rey Skywalker canon. This is outside. And I mean, that'll bring in a whole group of fans in, newer content. I mean, they could just adapt it straight from the novels. I mean, there's all that stuff they can do. And what I was referring to earlier with the director, I mean, there's an interview I saw on YouTube where Christopher Nolan did an interview and they asked him, what would you do next after Oppenheimer? And they asked him kind of a rapid fire questionnaire thing. And they're like, would you ever do a TV show? He said, no, no hesitation. Yeah. Would you ever, are you okay with people watching your movies on mobile devices? He said, yes, no hesitation. But when it came to Star Wars, they said, would you ever do a Star Wars film? And he said, I don't want to talk about that. Let's move on. So there's a glimmer of hope. And we all know the famous story back in 2015 when all these directors like Brad Bird and Nolan and David Fincher were offered The Force Awakens. JJ turned it down. They moved on to other people. They all said no. And what came out of it was the reason why they said no is because they didn't want to feel like the fan backlash and stuff. That's understandable. And of course, we saw a lot of that with the second film in that trilogy. But it's like you let these creatives play. Like Chris Nolan, that's a guy that the studio should not interfere with. Let him do his thing. He'll do a great thing. Even if it's outside of the recipe of Star Wars, it's still going to be like an event. I mean, just imagine. I mean, that Christopher Nolan Star Wars film, I mean, let him do what he wants to do. It feels like he's been thinking about Star Wars his whole life, like a lot of us have as children. Yeah. He's part of that Star Wars generation that saw it in the theater and then became a great filmmaker. It's like, give him however much money he wants. It's going to be in the millions. The film's going to make $1 billion or $2 billion. So it's like, you're not going to lose a lot of money there. And then you have the clout that Nolan has. It's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be an event. It's going to be an IMAX shot on 70 millimeter. I mean, who knows what he'll do, but I mean, there's just so many people out there. And that's why it's so odd to me when you pick Simon Kimber, give him a trilogy. It's like,
yeah.
What?
I one of the this is a personal preference. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do this, if this is gonna be a trilogy where Rey is going to be the main character, I really, really think you need to have a strong male counterpart in this thing, an ally, whether it's a love interest, whether it's a rogue Han Solo-y type or another Jedi. You really have to come back around and give something for male fans to look up to as well. Because Rey has been wonderful for girls and young girls to look up to. And she steals all of her scenes. She's absolutely wonderful. But we need a male counterpart that either works with her and can help kind of not carry the film for her, but be a good counterpart for her. I personally want to see some something for young boys to look up to as well. Since we don't have Luke or Han Solo anymore.
Do you think that could be Finn if he steps into a Jedi position?
That would be great. That would be a great thread to return to. I love that idea, and even bring Poe back. Poe was great too. Yeah, definitely. It's especially the you nailed it right there, Finn. Yeah. Bring Finn back and use that thread that was like, wait a minute, they just kind of hanging out there from the last film. Like, yeah, hey, guess what? I might be a Jedi. And everyone's like, okay, whatever. Pull on that. Come on, let's do that. Yeah, I love that idea. That's great.
Well, and we didn't get to see a ton of the dynamic between Finn, Poe, and Rey throughout the sequel trilogy. We see Finn and Poe develop a relationship, kind of as bros in the Resistance, and
they were split up. They were split up during the second film, Last Jedi, and then didn't really develop in the third film. So yeah,
right. And they kind of meet after the whole lifting rocks ordeal at the end of the Last Jedi, and it's just kind of a quick, handshake, whatever. And then we get to the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker, and Poe comes back to where their base is. I can't remember the name of the planet, and Rey's like, what the heck, you're beating the piss out of the Falcon, like what, and they kind of have that relationship where they're nagging at each other like siblings kind of do, and we missed a lot of that. So I would definitely like to see more of that relationship explored between the three of them, sharing more screen time, going on adventures together, I guess, kind of
Yeah.
what have you.
Yeah, because the chemistry that Finn and Ray had in the first film was really good, especially on the Falcon and
Yeah,
doing that. And yeah, I mean, I
For
would love to
sure.
see more of that happening. Yeah.
that would be really cool.
Yeah, John Boyega's name is the first name that popped up when you talked about a male lead. I mean, you have the
And if
groundwork
I was
laid.
John, I would not take that role unless I saw like scene.
Mhm.
You're now a Jedi. Scene. I mean, I hope if he returns,
Yeah.
I hope he gets a meaty chunk of the screen with that because he deserves it because he got kind of screwed.
Yeah,
Let's
and
be honest.
it's well documented. His kind of disappointment with his role in
Mhm.
the sequel trilogy, and
Yeah.
he thought he was gonna uh, have, I mean, quite simply, just a larger role, and he was all in the marketing. You saw him in Times Square with the big blue lightsaber,
Yeah.
holding the iconic Anakin
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker lightsaber. And even in the trailers, we were kind of misled in a way.
Yeah.
And then it got really convoluted in The Rise of Skywalker when he's sinking in that quicksand and he has something to tell Rey, and he gets sucked under into that cave before he can say it. And it was revealed later on that I thought he was trying to say something like, "I've always loved you," or something like that. But it
Yeah, me
was,
too.
the meaning was he was trying to tell Rey that he always had the Force. So he is Force sensitive. So he should be a Jedi when we jettison 15 years into the future for the Rey movie that already got canceled. But if they're doing a trilogy, they can do the same thing. And he can be there already with Force powers. You can explain it in the crawl or comics or whatever you want to do, and just show him being like the sufficient Jedi Knight or Jedi Master. I mean, whatever you want to do, and continue that relationship between the two, because we all know in The Force Awakens that it appeared that he kind of really was into Rey, and Rey really wasn't that into him, it appeared. But I mean, you could still build on that, and I think we would love to see that, and it would heighten the sequel trilogy. It would make it more of a thing, and I think Disney kind of wants that to elevate that trilogy, which is I mean, not enough time has passed, I think, for it to be looked more fondly upon, kind of like the prequels. Because back in the day, I mean, I know Kevin remembers, the prequels were just completely hated on when they came out. I mean, you were hard pressed to find someone that was like, I love Revenge of the Sith, or I love The Phantom Menace, or I just love the trilogy. So it's going to be an interesting kind of testament of time type thing to see if these sequels age well with the I guess the 14 and younger demographic that were that age when it came out, and to see how they react, and to see if it gets the same love that all the prequel actors get when they do the conventions and stuff.
Well, and they've already kind of half committed to the idea of Finn being a Jedi, like in the Lego specials. Like, granted, that's a Lego special, but they've made like Lego
Hey, those are
sets
canon in my head.
they've made a Lego set where Finn is a Jedi. You know what I mean? I mean, think of the handful of kids that have seen that, and if put two and two together, go and see another movie that takes place after Episode 9, and Finn is in it and not a Jedi. I'm sure. I mean, not saying everyone's gonna raise hell over it, but I mean, if they bring him back and he's not a Jedi, that'd be crazy.
Shout out to Darth Beard. I like what he said. Bryce has done a great job in my eyes with every episode she's directed. I would love to see her get a film. She
She's
gets
been great.
it. She gets it. Yeah, I love it. Good call, Darth Beard. Love that name too.
Well, and Bryce Dallas Howard, she's kind of grandfathered in, right, through her dad somewhat. But I mean, at the same time, I'd say she's earned her spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's directed non-Star Wars stuff. I remember she did a really cool Dark Mirror episode about social media and social stance, and of course her father did Solo as well. So yeah.
I mean, her dad is Ron Howard, and she has wild, incredible stories of her being around George Lucas, because Ron Howard was kind of like his understudy, because he directed Willow, and she says she has
American
memories of
Graffiti. Yeah.
right. She has, well, when she was born, she was a kid, and she has memories of being in Japan with her dad, Ron Howard, and George Lucas in a meeting room with Akira Kurosawa.
I heard that story. Fantastic.
Yeah, listening to their conversations, and then her kind of getting the bug. And she also tells this wild story too, that when she was growing up, that she wanted to get in the industry and the business and stuff. And she kind of started, I think, a little late in theater. And I think everyone kind of knew she was Ron Howard's daughter already. And she talked about getting her break and everything. And I mean, it's like, you're Ron Howard's daughter. It's like, you're going to get in there. If you have like an ounce of talent, they're going to let you do some stuff. But yeah, she's a tremendous talent. So she's a pretty good actress, really great storyteller when it comes to Star Wars, at least. And every episode of TV she's done has been really, really good. And yeah, I
agree.
And the other thing too, the other like odd like tidbit of information I have about her, the side of her house, which I'm not saying I'm a stalker or anything, but she did a YouTube video where she painted one side of her house as the binary sunset.
What?
Nice.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's like, okay, well, she's a fan, definitely. And I mean, she's very busy too. I mean, she's acted in Jurassic World and who knows what else. She did Argyle, which was not the greatest of films, I've been told.
I thought it was fun for what it was, but
okay.
I mean,
I enjoyed that movie.
Nice. Okay, maybe I should check it out then. But yeah, I mean, she's doing a lot of stuff. I don't think she wants to be pinned down to just do Star Wars for a long time. And that's the other thing, I think, too, the Star Wars creator and making Star Wars stuff equation, that you have to set aside a certain amount of years of your life to be involved, because this is not just making a movie and leaving. You really have to be involved and know the lore, or either learn it and be in there in the trenches and really give us a great story. And either if it's a live action or animation, I mean, it takes a lot of work. So, but yeah, thank you, Darth Beard, out there on YouTube. So the next thing I want to talk about is so back in July at Superhero Comic-Con in San Antonio, Texas, which is like my backyard, Sam Witwer was here. He was doing free autograph signings, which is cool. All you had to do was purchase a badge and you can get in. You still had to wait in line, and the line was long, and it took a while to get to him. But when you finally did get to him, it was a cool experience. Sam's a cool guy. Meeting him, we actually have 2 Darth Maul lightsabers that I waited in line to get signed. So we have those, and we might be doing a giveaway on Instagram. But yeah, stay tuned to that. But he answered some questions online, and he did address, and keep in mind, so viewer discretion here, he is still an employed Lucasfilm employee here. So, I mean, you're not going to get anything too drastic, but I mean, he did talk about how when people, kind of like the backlash that the Acolyte got, and his words were basically that if you love the Acolyte, if you liked it, he doesn't want to take that away from you. He doesn't want to be that person. And to me, it sounds like he really didn't love the Acolyte as much as some people did. And of course, we all know it's a varying range of either likes, dislikes, or flat out hated the show. But I mean, he talked about certain aspects. He mentioned the lightsabers in the show, that they appeared to be thicker than the traditional thinner hilts that you saw like in the original trilogy. And he brought up the fact that, I mean, it was back 200 100 years before the Phantom Menace, and of course the technology got better, so the lightsabers essentially shrank. And he kind of put that all together, and he kind of talked about that. And at Superhero Comic-Con in San Antonio, when I spoke to him, I said, hey, I have a podcast. Would you like to do an interview over StreamYard, over the internet? And he basically said he doesn't do that anymore. But so this was kind of like not really an interview, a traditional interview. He was just like answering fan questions. But he addressed that. And of course, he's always a voice. If you look at the credits of these TV shows on Disney Plus, you will see his name along with Matthew Wood.
Yeah.
And
A lot of stealth cameos.
And who is the other guy, Kevin?
Which guy?
His name is escaping me. There's 3 guys that they always pull in to do voices, to do a little bit of voice work, and they're usually the stormtroopers in the movies, like they did stormtroopers in Rogue One.
Yeah, the guy that does Tarkin, Steven Stanton, comes in a lot.
Does Darth Beard have it?
Yeah,
here?
it's not Steven Stanton. It's
Aaron Taylor Johnson. No, he's
not Quicksilver.
What's his name? That does Obi-Wan.
He has a
James
podcast.
Arnold Taylor.
Yeah, James Arnold Taylor.
No. He has a podcast where he talks about scores for movies.
Who has he played before?
Not the guy that does Zeb, does it? Because he does all those other voices.
No. He's not a professional voice actor. He's just one of the guys, and he's done like red carpets before. Anyone out there in chat know who I'm talking about? Yeah, he's not. He's not one of the traditional names. I think his first name is actually David. Yeah, this is gonna kill me. Someone out there is listening right now, and they're like saying the name, screaming. But yeah, so I mean, Sam Witwer, of course, he's still doing the Lucasfilm thing, which I mean, he's totally deserving of.
David Ankrum?
No.
Okay.
Guy from The Walking Dead. I don't think he has anything
Tennant,
to do with.
Is it?
No. You're thinking
David.
like
He's Hu Yang, but that's like all I can think of.
No. Ross Marquand. No.
Was he in
I
Rebels?
would love if Ross Marquand got involved with Star Wars. He's terrific, and he comes to all the cons here in San Antonio.
Was he in Rebels?
Yeah, he's done voices and everything.
Okay.
David Collins is his name.
Oh, he's also the music guy too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. He's a professional musician, and yeah, he'll come in and do a lot of voices. He's done. Yeah, you're right. He's done Stormtroopers, even a live action film.
And it's David Collins.
Yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook. Nice guy. Yeah,
Matthew Wood. Sam Witwer. Their names are always like bundled together in the credits. Yep. So yeah, I mean, they're doing voices for everything, and bits and pieces here and there. And if you get to meet Sam and you ask him, okay, what's the next thing you're doing? Of course, he can't talk about it, and he's always doing something. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting interview, if you could call it that, where he's answering some of these questions. But he just basically talks about the fact that if you like certain Star Wars, he doesn't want to take that from you. And for me, with the Acolyte, I found stuff that I really liked to love. Manny Jacinto's performance as the Stranger, which I wish he had like a Darth name or some other cool name.
He was a standout for me. He had one of the best moments in recent Star Wars where he had to describe why he is a Sith and he does what he does in that standoff with what's his name from the Squid Game. Yeah. That was just a great bit of dialogue from a Sith's point of view. So that was the highlight for me. Pretty much the only highlight.
Yeah, and I think if you go back there, I think there's a few highlights in the Acolyte, and I think with all the kind of discourse online, people just kind of dismissed it. But there's a lot of stuff in there. But yeah, Sam Witwer actually spoke a little bit, and I'm happy that he did. He's a real cool guy. He's done a lot of work and a lot of different things. He'll pop up, like Darth Beard said, in The Walking Dead. I believe he's in the first episode. And he had a small part in The Mist, which is the last piece of physical media that I bought from Best Buy.
Too soon.
But yeah, he's an awesome. I'm pretty sure he's going to return for different things. And going back to my conversation about doing stuff outside of canon, he's still young enough to play Starkiller. Have the Force Unleashed outside of canon live action. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
I think
that would be sweet.
Yeah.
I just want to mention too, he also had in one of my favorite Star Trek recent shows, he also has a voice in Star Trek Lower Decks as well. He's jumped in.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he is a big Trek fan, as well as Dave Filoni and Rosario Dawson. I think Rosario Dawson is actively looking to be cast in Star Trek, and she's made that known, and she'll probably get there. The other thing I want to talk about is Tony Gilroy. Yeah, Darth Beard is saying Ross Marquand was Han Solo in the Lego show.
Oh, that's sweet. I didn't know that.
I didn't know. Maybe I knew that and I just forgot it. But yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. Hopefully he does more stuff. And of course he was Professor Xavier in X-Men 97 as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, his Professor X is like ridiculously good. And if you ask him to do the impression, he'll just do it right in front of you. And it's awesome.
Real quick, back to Sam. I first remember him from Battlestar Galactica.
Ah, yeah.
Because I think I had him sign one of those Battlestar Galactica trading card game cards that had. But that's where I remember him from, because he played, was it Crashdown or whatever his character was? I think it was.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, Tony Gilroy.
So, well, I just thought about some more Sam Witwer stuff. So Sam Witwer is also on Cameo, that site where you can you pay $80 to $150, and they'll do like a personal video birthday card, or
some are a lot more.
yeah, some are a lot. More,
I know from experience.
But I've seen some of the Sam Witwer ones, and he does the Maul impression, and it's so cool to see that. And of course, when he was at Superhero with Ted from Countdown City, he did the whole Kenobi scream, and he told us, he's like, I rarely do it, but a kid asked for it, and he's like, it just destroys my throat. So
I bet.
Yeah, he's an incredible. Also has a huge knowledge repository in his mind for Star Wars. He did the Schmodown for Star Wars. I think they did a Star Wars version of it, and I mean, without hesitation, was answering some of these questions that are so obscure. And even I mean, that have seen the original trilogy hundreds of times, I couldn't remember exactly who said what in certain situations. And I was like, man, I need to rewatch those films again, because I figured I would just know. But he's a great guy to have around. And we've talked about him being on the set of Solo and telling them, hey, you're using the wrong lightsaber for Maul right now.
I love that. I love that so much.
It's an incredible story, man. And it's I love the story, but I don't like the fact that they were using the wrong lightsaber. And it had to take Sam Witwer, an actor, to catch that whole thing, and no one else caught it. But anyways, I digressed. Back to Tony Gilroy. So Tony Gilroy, who I think everyone really loves, is of course about to unleash to the world Andor season 2, April 22nd, in 2025. Which I hope, if we're in Japan at Celebration, we'll be able to see the first 2 episodes. I hope they do that type of thing again.
I'm sure that'll happen.
So there was some comments that he made that I pulled offline here, and I'll show you a picture. Andor season 2 will tell the story of Yavin like never before via Tony Gilroy. And Tony Gilroy said, I mean, we have to end up in Yavin, right? So we'll tell the story of Yavin. No one has quite dealt with Yavin the way we will be doing it. So, Kevin, do you have any knowledge of Yavin?
I remember the stuff about Yavin from the extended universe, and how, eventually it became a Jedi training ground for Luke and his stuff. But, if you want to, go back that far, yeah, I do, because those are some of my favorite stories. And after the fall of the Empire, that it kind of became a safe haven again. But of course, it has some dark secrets too. I remember Han's kids trained there with, was it Lobaka, and so, and then I remember there was one young Jedi book where there was a crashed TIE fighter pilot from the Battle of Yavin, and he was living by himself. So yeah, I got some knowledge on Yavin. I don't know how it's going to change for what more we're going to learn about for Andor, but from what I've heard for season 2, it's going to walk right up into the beginning of Rogue One, and I'm also expecting them to have some reference to Dantooine as well, because my guess is that we'll probably get something where they have to escape Dantooine and set up a new rebel base. because they have to make reference to that because of the original Star Wars film where it was an original base. I would be really surprised if we didn't get Dantooine first, and then they're starting to build it up.
Do we see them establish Yavin 4 in Star Wars Rebels?
No, not that I remember.
Maybe it's featured, but I remember they were at Chopper Base before they went to Yavin. But I think by the end of the show, it was Yavin. I could be wrong, but
yeah. But speaking of, by the way, I think it's the deal still on. The entire Rebel TV series is on sale for $10 on iTunes, and I just bought it last week. So.
Really?
Yeah.
$10?
$10.
Dang.
Yeah. Go check it out if it's still available. But I don't know. What do you say, David? What do you know about Yavin?
I mean, I know the original set was the pyramids in Guatemala because Oscar Isaac really talked about that and highlighted that because he's Guatemalan. And some of the comic book creators kind of took that and ran with that because they did a storyline in the comics where Poe's parents lived there. And there was actually a tree that it was a forest tree that they involved in a storyline.
Is this the new?
I got this
is
comic.
This the new
Shattered
canon
Empire
comic that has come out? Okay,
Yeah.
I have not picked those up, so I don't know that history. My mind goes back to the EU.
I think it's only like 4 issues long or something like that.
Yeah, and I believe it involves Snap Wexley's dad, I believe, as well.
Yes.
I think he plays a
you're
part in that. But yeah, other than that, it looks like Tony.
So wait a minute, hold on. According to the newer books and comics, then Poe Dameron was conceived on Endor, and then born on Yavin.
Yavin? I think so. I think he was conceived the night
it was Ewok party time, you know.
I mean, that's the
bow wow.
That's how they set it up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, Tony Gilroy says we're going to explore Yavin in a different, unique way. I can't wait to see it. I was mildly disappointed when they didn't show more Yavin stuff in Andor season 1. I mean, we got inside the kind of like the war room there that we saw in A New Hope, a little bit with Mon Mothma in Rogue One, also in Andor. But I mean, I would like some new kind of mythology and new kind of Easter eggs and new stuff, new connective tissue. Hopefully, I don't know, whoever's helping them, like kind of what we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, that someone writes in something like really cool that we didn't know, that maybe that was like staring us right in the face and something that we didn't connect the dots with. I would love to see something like that and bring Yavin and other established planets to the forefront. I believe, I think we're going to get, I think I heard somebody say, or somebody wrote something online, that we're going to get more Ring of Kafring stuff that we saw at the beginning of Rogue One. I thought that was an interesting place.
That was a cool location.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing I want to mention here is Hasbro Pulse released a video today of unboxing the Ghost. And there you can see it. And of course, the picture doesn't do it justice because it's a huge toy.
I was at Comic-Con last year when they were previewing that, and they had it out for display. And I actually I took a video of it. I took pictures of it. It's taken over a year for that thing to get out finally. It's huge.
Yeah. They kind of made the promise, I think, that we're going to get them in October. October's coming past. They haven't shipped them out yet. In the video, they say, I think they allude to like they're ready to ship them. So I don't know, maybe we're going to get them in 2025. But I have a picture right here if you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. That's a normal sized guy there, and that's the box right next to him.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a large box.
Yeah, that's a huge toy, man. And I can't wait to get mine. I actually did the thing where I bought 2, one to take out and one to leave in the box. And then, of course, we gave one away, and I believe it was to Nathan Schenk, who has been one of our awesome Patreon supporters. So
yeah,
we haven't gotten them yet, Nathan, so hang tight. I know it's been a while.
And you have them ship them directly to Nathan, so you don't have to reship it?
I think I tried that, and I really don't remember what the outcome of that was.
Didn't they
Maybe I
charge
did
you
set
like
it up.
$100? Didn't they charge you like $150 to ship, or something like that?
I don't think that. I think the price was just already included.
No, when I was
No?
getting it, when I was looking at, was it getting one of the GI Joe things? They were charging extra on the shipping. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I have no problem paying for the shipping for Nathan because he's contributed a lot to our podcast. So,
Oh, Nathan, that's awesome.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, and you get the action figures that once you hit those landmarks for supporters. I think it went into the thousands of supporters, and they unlocked a separate action figure. And of course, it's the Ghost Crew. If you're watching us on video, you can see it right now. So Sabine, Chopper, of course, Hera, Ezra, Kanan, and Zeb. So, but the big question is, am I going to take them out of the packaging, or am I just going to leave them in there forever? I don't know. After I shed my mortal coil, let my family sell them to the highest bid. I don't know.
Darth Beard says, have you guys watched The Penguin? I'd love those guys to write a Darth Plagueis TV series. So dirty and dark. I have, and it's one of the best shows of the year. It's a straight up mob TV series, and I love mob TV series and movies.
Right.
It's so good.
And
so
this
good.
points back to what I was referring to earlier. All these like creators that are like no name can do great things, guys. I mean, yeah, look at the Penguin series. I mean, they knocked it out of the park. Cobra Kai, those creators on Netflix are huge Star Wars fans. And I think they tried pitching Star Wars stuff and they were denied. And you ask those guys who created Cobra Kai, what is your inspiration? They straight up just said Star Wars. We wanted to do Star Wars stuff. But I mean, we're 80s guys. So, I mean, the Karate Kid was the next best thing. So there's a lot of people out there that are very talented that want to play in the Star Wars sandbox there. So, yeah. Also, there was a little bit of new marketing release for Skeleton Crew, this kind of big banner that they put up, and we're all getting hyped for it. Little more than 2 weeks away from it premiering, and of course, we're going to do a pre-show and a post-show, and we're going to look for all the Easter eggs there. So. Yeah. Kevin, are you hyped for this show, or is this just going to be kind of just a casual watch for you?
Oh, you're talking about Skeleton Crew? Yeah, I'm excited. Yes. Okay. I'm really excited, actually. Yeah, because from what I've seen from it, what I like about what I've seen is that we're getting a different perspective on the Star Wars universe, and we're getting it from a kid's point of view. Kind of kids growing up in the galaxy, because it's always about Jedis and Sith and Imperials and Rebels and stuff. And I like that we're getting something, and it's closer, obviously, to it's post Return of the Jedi and closer to the Mandoverse as well. And I'm always been a fan of TV series and movie series with from a kid's perspective, going on adventures, getting the shenanigans. And I'm actually looking forward to it. Both Kyle and I are. We're going to be covering it on Friday nights, doing a live reaction show on Culture Clash. We'll be covering it every week, so we're excited.
Nice. Yeah, I invited Kyle tonight to the podcast, but he said he was working. So yeah. I'm with every new piece of marketing I type today on Twitter, I'm getting more and more hyped because all the new little mini commercials that they released, like the D23 sizzle reel thing that they released after Brazil D23, which was also another strange thing. It looked really good. It looked really polished. And of course, we all know that the budget is the second largest budget for any TV show in the history of mankind after Rings of Power.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy.
They didn't spare a lot of expense here making the show, and it feels like it's going to be cinematic. Feels like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to have the Amblin vibe. I'm down for it. I'm ready to give it a chance. And of course, Chris Ford and John Watts, who helmed the Homecoming Spider-Man trilogy, another Spider-Man reference here on the podcast, did a fantastic job with that. So, and he passed up doing the Fantastic Four. So,
hey, I just found a video that I took at Comic-Con last year when they were showing the Ghost. It's like a quick little 30-second video. If you don't mind, I'd like to play it so you can see here. So, if you can go ahead and bring in that tab that I have there and share it, and then I'll go ahead and press play here. Here you go.
Trying to strike the best of both worlds, since this is the first time these characters have made it to TVC.
Yeah, well, and I think yes. The short answer is yes.
Cool, but part of that is
and part of that is because we know how much Rebels means to so many. I mean, those books on those characters are so quintessential.
Trying to strike
There
the
you go.
best of both worlds, since this is the first time.
That's the video that I took. I'll give you a little closer look on the insides there. So yeah.
That's really detailed.
Yeah, that's awesome. To scale with 3.75-inch figures, that's really cool. It's gonna be really large. I think I'm gonna move to a different room in my house just because of the size of that.
Putting those together is like putting together those gigantic Lego sets. You got to be careful not to break stuff, and you really got to take time.
Well, I mean, with Lego, I mean, it's so brittle, guys. I can't do Lego. I mean, it just falls apart.
I don't have the patience.
I mean, I like putting the stuff together. It's cool and all, but moving it, like transporting it, it just falls apart on me. I bought a Falcon once, and it was so brittle and pieces were falling off. I was like, I can't do this. But if you look closely, right above my head, I have the Razor Crest from HasLab. It looks tiny in comparison, but
I bought the Target version of Mando's ship, not the 130.
That's awesome. I saw that this weekend, actually. Do you mind if I ask how much you paid for it at Target?
$30. I mean, look at this thing. It's really, really cool. And
was it in the big box?
Not really. It's in a smaller box, and you can shoot the little laser things here. And then, like, if you watch carefully here, if you turn this, hold on. If you turn this, I think these things turn here. Hold on. Try to figure out how to do this. You turn here somewhere. Oh, yeah. Here you go. Here you go. You got this, and you can close it up like that.
Oh, that's cool.
And Grogu fits right here. And and then I was wondering, where do I put Mando's like jetpack? And I just put it on the bottom right there.
Oh, nice.
There's like an extra hole. I just stuck it in there. But yeah, if you don't want to spend the full 130, 50, whatever version of it, this is a nice one.
That's the version I saw.
Totally worth the price. And it's maybe just a little bit smaller than the one that you get at the other one. So, but I had to grab that one. A lot of them have been going on sale too, just so you know.
Yeah, I need to take a piece to Japan for Doug Chang to sign. So I'm mulling over what I need to take.
I have tickets for Japan, but I don't know yet if I can go. Some other traveling stuff might take priority, but it's not out of the picture yet. But I still want to go. We'll see.
Cool. Yeah, we'll see you there if you do go. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Other than the fact that yesterday, what day was it, guys?
Life Day.
No hesitation. So
by the way, real quick, before I don't want to get away from Life Day without mentioning, if you haven't seen it, you can buy it digitally. The documentary that came out last year, I got it on physical media, called A Disturbance in the Forest, the story behind the Life Day. You guys have to see that thing because it talks about all of the making of the special edition, but what's more impressive about it is not only the interviews they get and the people behind the production of it, but the impact that Star Wars had on the world and everyone. They get deep into that. It's fascinating. It's one of the best documentaries I've seen about Star Wars, and it's worth a watch if you have not. I know you can buy it on iTunes or digitally. I did as well. But they interview a lot of great people that know their stuff, and of course they talk about the reactions to it, and it's really good. And the best thing about it is you don't have to watch the holiday special to enjoy it, but they talk about a lot of the aspects to it, including Boba Fett's first appearance and all that kind of stuff. But it's called A Disturbance in the Forest. Make sure you check it out. It's really, really good. And I know you can find it on Amazon on physical media as well, and you can buy it digitally.
And that was done by Kyle Newman, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, he's the guy that directed Fanboys, which was a terrific film.
Oh yeah, here it is. I have it right here. A Disturbance in the Forest. There it is.
Nice.
How the Star Wars holiday special happened. Actually, it's directed and produced by Jeremy Kuhn and Steve Kozak.
Does Kyle Newman have something to do with it, though? I thought he did, or maybe he's just.
He might be interviewed, but yeah, okay. Kevin Smith, Seth Green, Paul Scheer, Patton Oswalt, Adam Goldberg from the Goldbergs. Right. He is a executive producer. Yeah, a lot of people, and they talk about a lot of the variety shows that were such a big deal back in the 70s, and a lot of the other variety shows that did Star Wars themed parodies, like Bob Hope, Donnie and Marie. They get into all of that, but the thing that I found more fascinating about this is the pop culture impact that Star Wars had and how they dove deep into that, and then up until the holiday special. So check it out.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. So, Zach, did you do anything for Life Day?
No, my wife is sick, so I've been at home taking care of her. So nothing super special for Life Day.
I just reshared old post I did last year, and then reminded people that for Mandalorians it's Boba Fett Day because that was his first appearance.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people call it Boba Fett Day, which
Darth Beard says it's a great documentary, very recommended. All right, cool.
Nice. So Life Day is actually the day after my first daughter was born. So of course we celebrated her birthday.
You were trying to make that happen on Life Day, weren't you? You're like trying to induce your wife. Come on, we can make it. We can make it.
Yeah, she was actually supposed to be born on the 10th, apparently, but yeah, she didn't want to come out, and we waited to induce her. So, but one of our hosts, though, Colin, he had a full-on Life Day party at his place, and of course, we all know him as Chewie. He has the screen-accurate Chewbacca costume, so he wore that with the red robe, and he got some of his friends to come over to his house with the blue orbs. And here's a picture.
That's badass. Look at that.
Sweet.
So yeah, it's very cool. So yeah, Colin
I
does
think
get
I
into
see
Life
one of
Day.
these masks. I'm just saying. Look at that right there.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I don't have one of those yet. I don't know why.
I found that at a thrift store.
Yeah.
That's
I knew
fun.
the Chewy lady.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, thank you to everyone out there on chat. Adam Haber, Darth Beard, thank you so much for being the awesome Patreon members that you are, supporting the podcast, and everyone out there listening on YouTube, watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you so much. Thank you to our guest tonight, Kevin, for joining at the last minute there.
Thank you.
Thank you to Zach, of course. Got to meet him in person at SpaceCon.
Good to meet you, Zach.
Yeah, likewise, Kevin. It was fun.
Yeah, Zach totally impressed me with his work
David.
at SpaceCon, and we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun at Darkside Pizza. Hopefully, we can hang out again at some point because, of course, he's
wait.
north.
You went to a
down
place
south.
that was called Darkside Pizza?
Dude,
You don't know
it was
about Darkside
sweet.
Pizza?
No, that sounds like fun.
Oh man. Oh, it is
Okay, so
Great.
sweet.
yeah, so it's it's like a mom and pop. It's like 80s nostalgia, and it's called Darkside Pizza. The logo is actually like in the shape of kind of like, I think, the underside of a Star Destroyer, but it like kind of mimics a pizza slice in a way.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
But you walk in
fair.
there, the first thing you see to your right-hand side is a 1-to-1 scale of Luke sitting down in the swamp of Dagobah with R2. Then I believe above
And
that,
Yoda,
I'm trying to remember
right?
exactly what's there. But yeah, there's a scout trooper, there's a life-size Vader, there's a
Wampa.
singular room where we had dinner when Zach and Colin came down for SpaceCon. It's called the Jabba Room, where it's got like I think 25 like 1-to-25 scale ratioed models of the entire Jabba's palace set up with Jabba in the back with like Slave Leia and Nax Rebo, and
That
I mean
sounds like
just
fun.
every
It's
piece of like
sweet.
Regal Robot like
What-
stuff that's been created is there.
Where is this again?
This is in Bernie, Texas.
Bernie, Texas.
And the owner's really, really cool. He actually invited us out to his place, his actual house, and we got to take a tour of all of his collection. It's extensive. It's epic. It's, I mean, you could spend a day in there.
Is that
And
near San Antonio?
yeah, it's north of San Antonio. It's like kind of in the hill country.
That's cool, man. That sounds like
But yeah, Michael Hawes, he's the owner. He's really cool. He's invited
great
us to
guy.
do things there, and the food is actually good too, which is incredible. I spent my birthday there. My wife was like, "Let's go to Darkside." I was like, "Okay, let's go." And I got to try the food there for the first time, and it is really, really good. Especially the brisket pizza, which doesn't sound good, but it actually tastes really good. I think Adam was with us, our Patreon. subscriber that was in chat, and he ordered the brisket pizza, and it was really, really good. And yeah, I was hesitant at first, but yeah, it's really good. And
Very nice.
yeah, there's a bar there as well. They have their own wine. Yeah, if you ever come down here, Kevin, we definitely need to go there.
It's
That sounds
so
like
worth
fun.
it, man. Yeah.
Nice.
If you decide to take that road trip to Georgia or Florida, stop by here.
It's
And
been a while since I've been to Texas. I'm due. I got friends there, so yeah. Including
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that is the podcast. Thank you to everyone. And I think Colin is going to do a podcast tomorrow. And then I think we might do another podcast Wednesday night. So stay tuned for that. And of course, Legion Sabers, your next lightsaber, go check them out, legionsabers.com. Use the code STUFF at checkout for 50% off. And if you spend over $300, you get a free lightsaber. If you're watching us on YouTube,
That's a great
comment,
deal.
like, subscribe. What's that?
That's a great deal.
Yeah, it is. I took
It
advantage
is.
of it already.
Nice.
Instagram, be on the lookout for what we're about to do on Instagram. I think it's going to be worth your while to subscribe at Star Wars Stuff Pod, because we're going to give away something pretty epic. Also, Twitter at Stuff Pod, Threads at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Of course, you can always support us on Patreon at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're also on TikTok. You can email us at StarWarsStuffPodcast@gmail.com. And of course, we're on Facebook. We have a group and a page. Thank you to everyone. Tim Seitz, especially. He's our resident meme lord. You can see all of his posts there. Usually pretty hysterical. So, yeah. And if you're watching us or listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a rating and make a comment. And of course, on YouTube, comment away. We'd like to see what you think and maybe address it on a future episode. So for Zach and Kevin, my name is David, and may the Force be with you.
Always.